Okay, so evening to all. Thanks everyone for attending, and thank you, Zoe. Very special to have a player with your experience sharing with us on all the knowledge and the experience from the overseas playing and the international playing, as well as the local one. So to start it up, I'd like to just go through. I've seen some of the things that you detailed out on your first page in relation to your achievements. I noticed that the 2011 FINA Junior Worlds wasn't there. Well, I'll start with that one. That was the oldest
That was
one.
when you were yes,
Yeah,
I remember
bronze
that.
medal. Yeah, I think you had a good group of girls to play with on that one, and that was definitely a special team. And I think many of those girls are now in the national team playing with you ever since. And obviously, you had a lot of success with the Fremantle Marlins as well, winning a lot of titles, Premiership in Australia, represented Australia in the 2016 Olympic Games in Rio, and working towards obviously the next Olympics. And of course, we have the numbers on the international caps, which was 256. I wasn't sure on that one, so thanks for helping out on that. And 2019 FINA World Championships bronze medal. 2015, you have been selected in the All-Star team on FINA World Championships. And then there's another one in 2013, FINA World Silver Medal. And I think that was the first one with the senior team, first bigger event. So thank you, Zoe, for making time for us. And I'm just going to hand it over to you so we can listen in and hear what you have to say and share with us.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this session. As Thibaut introduced me, I'm Zoe Arancini. I'm a Rio 2016 Olympian. I'm aiming for Tokyo 2021. This will be my third Olympics cycle, so it's been extended by a year, but looking forward to next. I'm really hoping that next year still goes ahead. I played over 250 games for the Aussie Stingers. I started back, my debut was in 2009, so been around a while now. I'm a right-handed driver, so if anyone knows what a driver is, it's basically a lot of swimming around, shooting, passing the ball. Have a lot of fun with that. And as Thibaut has mentioned, career highlights, I've just listed a couple. Bronze medal last year at the FINA World Champs was very special. Rio, making the Rio Games was, a dream come true. And was fortunate enough to win a silver medal in 2013, and that was a very special occasion. We were playing in Spain in, Barcelona. It was a massive crowd. I've never experienced anything like it, and I don't know if I'll experience anything like that again, but it was fantastic to have. And obviously having, my parents there is, that was a great experience for them as well. Going through the slides, if anyone has any questions, please yell out and we'll answer your question. All right, so I'll get started now. Okay, so life as a WPWAI athlete. So I started on as a train-on in 2005 when I think it was Simone Hank was coach. It was a bit different back then. Train-ons were only allowed during the winter period, so about 3 months, and we were only allowed to attend 2 to 3 sessions, and at that stage they only allowed for up to 2 to 3 players, so it was very competitive to get into. When Peter Sislagi came on board in 2007, I became WPWAI member, like full scholarship holder then. Ever since I've been a part of WPWAI, it has always served as a pathway to the Australian team for both juniors and seniors. The best thing about the WPWAI environment is the access to the quality of the service providers we have here, that being a gym coach, psychologist, physiologist. I know you've all probably been a part of Paul Goods from, I think, a couple of weeks ago he was on board. We've also have nutritionists, biomechanics, and also our coach here as well. And the upgrade of the facilities here in 2014-15 has made it one of the best, like, world-class facilities here. There isn't a gym like it in the world, I don't think. Maybe the closest thing would be the Australian Institute of Sport. And the focus here is about supporting the athletes, not just on the field to, you know, perform at their best, but also, you know, their other commitments, study, work. So WAIS has been a huge support in that regard. It is a training environment. So in the WAIS, here at WAIS, we don't play. We have players from different clubs come together to train to, you know, that contributes to the player's performance at a national and international level. So the national level is about getting that player to perform at best their ability at the club level, so national league, or whether that be, you know, under 14 clubs, under 16 clubs, or the states, and then at the international. So once, obviously, you know, the national, like the Australian National League is at an end, then the next part is the international season, and and also working with the clubs as well to help us, you know, perform to our best of our ability. And outside of that, just a little bit of background for me. I am still an athlete studying. I'm looking to nearly finish my degree. WAIS has been a huge part of that, in allowing me to pursue my dreams of making Olympic team whilst also trying to finish a degree, and will, you know, help me in, you know, my next chapter when I retire, and, you know, move into the working environment, which is a little bit scary, that 9 to 5, but also it will be, I think, quite an exciting time as well, but not just yet. So, experience of playing overseas. I played overseas quite a bit, since probably 2013 after the World Champs. I was mainly based overseas. I played 2 seasons in Italy in 2 different clubs. I played a season in Spain, but not in the Spanish league. I was a sort of a fly-in, fly-out player for the Euro League. For those of you who don't know what the Euro League is, it's all the clubs around Europe, the top 3 clubs in each country come together, and they sort of have a separate tournament. So they'll have about 4 groups, and then they'll have a playoff in those 4 groups. The top 3 of those 4 groups then go through to another round, and then the top 2 of those 4 groups go into like a playoff. So then a draw happens, and then you're pitted against one team, and so you have a home game and away game. The one who wins the most, like by the most points, will then go through to the the Final 4, which is, you know, the top best 4 teams in the Europe League, and then the bottom 4 play the Len Trophy. It's a very big deal for the Europeans, and being fortunate enough to experience it is fantastic. We've also had another player, Ash Southern, who actually won the Final 4. So for her, I know that was a massive experience and something she's never forgotten. The last 2 years I've played, it's an interesting gig. I've played with the Chinese national team. So after World Cup in 2018, I was approached by the Chinese team. The Chinese Olympic Committee had an initiative to, you know, pay for the best players to come in to develop their players and enhance the competition. So with the Chinese team, we actually weren't based in China. What they did, they flew to America. We trained and played in America for about 6 months, October to February. They based themselves somewhere in the Southern California, and they would train. It was just train, and then play any of the collegiate teams. A fantastic experience, and the Chinese treated me very well, and they were a lovely bunch of girls and very, very hardworking. The benefits of playing overseas, you know, is the exposure to different styles of play and to different coaches and their, I suppose, their style of coaching. You know, for example, with the Chinese team, the first year I had Juan, who coached the men's Spanish league team, the men's national Spanish team in I think it was 2000 Olympics, I believe. Very different to the next coach, who was my ex-Australian coach, Greg McFadden Dumper. Juan was very much all about power, and you know, working at, you know, an intense rate, whereas Dumper was a bit more structured around, you know, recovery and tactical work. The other good thing about playing overseas is you're paid to play. So you go over there and they pay you to play. They set you up in an apartment. You know, if you need a car, they usually set you up with that kind of stuff. So your focus over there is to play, to train, which is, you know, living the dream zone as far as I'm concerned. I found the best thing was being able to train and play against quality players. You know, before you go overseas, you play against many, you know, at the international level, you're playing against many, you know, different players, and then to be able to train with them is very unique. And you know, you get to ask questions, you get to talk to them about, you know, how, you know, they were coached or how they play and what do they see. And you know, in Spain, I had the privilege of playing with Laura Lopez, who was a fantastic player for the Spanish team. And you know, it's stuff like, being able to have that experience, you know, is, you know, while we are able to train against the best here in Australia, being able to train with them and playing, you know, every Saturday against some of the best players, you know, it's great.
Can you specify some of the things that you learned through that experience playing against those girls? You said it was great and they're very good players. What are some of the key things, if you can specify, that you learned? I'm sure there's many, but if you could just get into that a little bit on a few things.
I suppose how, like, for one, their different style of shooting, how some of them have this huge wind up, some of them do, you know, they're more focused on placement of the ball, or, you know, having a deceptive walk instead of probably the Australian way of being able to just shoot the ball hard. And you know, leg positioning of some things, you know, and like, for me, driving, like, I consider myself a pretty good driver, so it was more you know, things like of when blocking, leg positioning and blocking, how people move out while blocking, and, you know, what was that? Sorry, I heard someone. So yeah, but also you know, I mean, with the Chinese, you know, they had girls from different backgrounds. So they had some who were swimming background, who for me really pushed me in the swimming. So I learned a lot in that for sure. But yeah, it's just little bits and things you can take that can improve your game, I suppose. I can't really put a finger on it, but yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
The other thing with playing overseas is you know, learning about the different cultures and learning the language. You know, all these, you know, Italy, Spain and China, they're all different, and you know, they definitely contribute to, you know, my personal development and also to my water polo development. And the other fantastic thing about playing overseas is you're playing for 8 months. It's, you know, they finish the international season, which is usually from May to, I think it's August, and then from September or October through to May, they're playing polo. They're training and playing, so every weekend they've got games, you know, which I think is, I love it. It's fantastic having a game every weekend, and you know, instead of just having to train for 6 months with no games, I love being able to play games. So, you know, that's the whole reason of why we train, so we can play these games.
And how did you go with the communication? Obviously, You said
Uh,
different languages.
Italian wasn't too bad. It's pretty easy to learn. And then in Spain, you know, it's not Spanish they learn where I was. It's Catalan. They're very insistent that, you know, you speak Catalan. So it wasn't too, like, most of them can speak English though in Spain. China was a different, it was much, I told them at the start that I wasn't learning Chinese. To me, I learned a few words, but they even said it's a hard language to learn, because I didn't realize that China actually have, like, similar to Italy and Spain, they have different dialects. And then they have a communal language, which is, I think, Mandarin, and then they all each have their own dialects. So, but, you know, we had an interpreter, and also the other international players, we had an interpreter who would translate everything for us. We couldn't keep up with the Chinese. Training and competing with the Aussie Stingers. So, as I said, I've been an Aussie Stinger member since 2009. It's a highly competitive environment. You're obviously fighting for a spot on the team. You know, while you're making friends, you're also, you know, as I said, fighting for a position, and it can be quite stressful. Camps are very intensive. So usually we have 2 to 3 sessions a day. That's for, you know, 6 days a week when we're on camp. The pool sessions can range from anywhere between 1 to 3 hours. Usually during tournaments, pool sessions are an hour max, because obviously we've got other teams coming in, which is fantastic, because I'm sure the coaches would love to go over the hour session sometimes, for tactical reasons. We also have a lot of meetings during these camps, so video sessions, you know, tactical, individual meetings with the coaches, performance reviews, and as a leader, I'm part of the leadership group of this current Aussie Stingers group, so we have separate meetings to deal with. And you know, camps can also be, we can have a camp that goes for maybe a couple of days, usually after a National League. So if we've gone over to Sydney to have 4 games, we'll then maybe have a camp for about a week, or we can have a camp that goes up to 8 weeks. It just depends on timing and what's available to us. And the main focus of these camps is obviously team preparation, tactical work, and, you know, part fitness. But what they mainly try to do is, when we're in our home states, work on our fitness, and also in the home states, we can work on our individual needs. So whereas you don't get sort of that opportunity at the national, or when you're in team preparation with the Aussie Stingers, it's more focused on, focusing on the tactical work, upcoming opponents, you know, what the next tournament is, what we're working on. So your individual needs sort of have to be done in your own daily training environment. Coaching juniors. So I'm not a coach, but from my experience as a junior, I believe in coming through and now being a senior member, I believe providing, you know, comprehensive basic skills. And, you know, so what I mean by that is really at a young age working on building a solid platform for the players. So, you know, high elbow, follow through on the ball, because having that solid platform will, you know, later in life will just provide you. So it just provides you the skill set going forward. So when fitness sort of depletes, especially in games, you know, 6 games in, you fall back on those skills. So if you don't have those, you know, high elbows, you know, follow through on the ball, you're just gonna, it doesn't matter what you do in the game, you just won't be able to, you know, you won't be able to finish off a good pass or a good shot. So that's why I believe, you know, being able to really work on those basic skills, you know, and will pay off in the long run. As a junior, you know, I never sort of understood that, but now as a senior, having that sort of skill set, you can't go past it. I highly recommend, if you're coaching, young girls, really focus on that skill set. At a young age, let them play. So, especially like under 14s, under 16s, just let them get in and play any position. Don't pigeonhole them too early. The reason for that is, it's about sort of developing a skill set, developing knowledge of each position, and it's fun. Like at a junior level, we also, as I said in the next point, we want to make it fun. So being able to play, any position at that age is, it's fun. Like I remember playing at under 14s and under 16s, and anyone could play centre forward or anyone could get in and play centre back. Everyone knew what to do in the pool, and it was so much fun. Like there's some of my best memories are from playing in the junior league. And what I mean by the swimming technique, that sort of ties back in with the providing like the basic skill set. It just provides that solid platform. I'm a solid swimmer, but I have had to work on my technique lately because obviously not poor technique, but not a efficient technique when I was younger. So with a good swimming technique, that will help again with the fitness down the track, and it also saves you a lot with regards to injury as well if you're performing, the correct technique. Thank you for listening. Are there any questions? I know that was quite brief.
There are going to be some questions. Before I jump into it, I'd like to offer it to anybody else. Questions, please. Don't forget to unmute.
Hi, Zoe.
Hi.
Sorry we're late. I'm here with all the girls. Just say hi, Zoe.
Hi, Zoe. Hi, Zoe.
Hi. Hi.
But Zoe, my question is, do you think it's a good idea for your dad to be your first coach?
Wow. I didn't question
Absolutely.
there. Yeah, I've got to say that. I think so. I mean, all that skill that I was installed by my dad, who was a coach, and he is a fantastic coach, I think. He worked very hard with us in that under 14 group. We had a very good under 14 group, with the focus of being, the skill set and, the basic understanding of the game. And yes, it does. There is some pressure, obviously, because of the whole, father-daughter, the bias. But I don't think that ever sort of was a problem with us, just because my dad was, if you look at the team success, every one of those individual girls played to the best ability. Most of them made Australian junior teams, and we won a gold medal. So, I think there was a huge team success, and each individual girl had a fantastic time under him, I'm pretty sure.
Thanks, Zoe.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Zoe.
Peter. Thanks.
Marco?
Zoe, it's the perfect one.
Yeah, hi, the perfect one.
Yeah. Hey, listen, who do you reckon are the toughest opponents to play and why? Which country?
I would say at this day it would be definitely America. They're fast. They also know how to play a press. They can play a hard press. They can play a good zone. It's also helpful that they have a very good goalkeeper in Ashley Johnson, so they can sort of play any defense and have her behind you and be like, yeah, I can play any, so they can play any sort of zone I want. So they're definitely the toughest opponent. They've also got some tough players in people like Melissa Seiderman. And then after that, Russia, I reckon they're one of the toughest teams, just because they play such a aggressive style of game, and you know they play on the edge. I like the way the Russians play. You know, they're counter-attack orientated. You know, they drive, they look for each other on the drive, and yeah, they're just so attack focused, but just so quick. They're one of the hardest teams to play.
The key to beating the Americans, what do you reckon?
What did you say? Sorry?
The key to beating the Americans.
You got to take. I think personally, it's you've got to take it to them, play one-on-one, and you know, yeah, as I said, take it to them. You know, drive on them. You know, make them work, because they've sort of got this. They have been a dominant team, and they for the last however many, you know, I think the last 2 cycles. But I really do believe if, you know, and you look at the Netherlands and Hungary who take them, we actually bring the fight to them, do quite well, but America are a well-disciplined team, but you've just got to be able to last 4 quarters with them and keep on fighting.
Or poison a goalkeeper, maybe. I shouldn't say that in public. This goes on YouTube, I'm sorry.
Michael, don't go against your own.
Zoe, I have a question.
Yeah.
When you were younger, like it's related to your early development. When you were younger, did you have a chance to play any other sport other than water polo? And if it doesn't matter if the answer is yes or no, what do you think? What kind of effect of that other sport actually had for your, like you being professional in water polo, or if you didn't play any other sport? What do you think if you actually played? Do you think you would actually have some other skills in the water other than water polo skills? What's your opinion as a professional?
So before I started water polo, I played probably tennis, basketball, and netball. So at this age of 12, I started then probably, once under 14s, I started just sort of focusing more on water polo and obviously swimming. But before that, you know, as a kid, played tennis, basketball. I did like my tennis. I just wasn't, unfortunately, I'm not a very good runner, very flat-footed. So, but I always enjoyed, I think those team sports, you know, leading into water polo were beneficial because obviously and the ball skills. While it's not like there's some similarities, but not maybe with netball. I think I didn't really like netball, to be honest, but definitely with basketball. There were some skills that definitely crossed over. And the tennis, I think it was and the swimming, like that's an individual sport, and that's just I think that was that individual drive. So I think they did play a part into it. But once I started playing polo and started doing national under 14s and under 16s, I just stuck with water polo. I loved it.
Thank you.
Next question. Then I'll be asking a question, Zoe.
Okay.
I know the training sessions, obviously different coaches doing different style of trainings. There are a lot of similarities, of course, but can you talk to us more about what were the differences like when you trained with the Chinese or in Spain, even at Waste and the club? Just getting into some details on what were the similarities we probably would know, but what were the differences that you really picked up on and helped you to learn new skills and just to develop yourself further?
Okay, so each of them were different. So with the Chinese, the first year I went with the Chinese, there was a huge focus on, as I said, with one, it was about power, and a lot of it was based on leg work. So maintaining, you know, a high, like shoulders out of the water, always been consistently high out of the water. So we did a lot more leg work, you know, focusing on vertical kicking and maintaining that high, which I think helped me with my leg work. That was a skill set I, you know, continually have to work on, and that really did help. And the next year with Dumper, it was not much, anything I've learned from this, it's all we've learned in the past with the Australian team. The Spanish team or the Spanish club was probably more learning a different way to block, I suppose. It's quite different how they block over there to it is here. Like we're used to covering short corners, so if the ball goes deep, we cover short. But in Spain, in the club I was at, you know, the emphasis was on blocking cross cage. So there's a different body position on doing that. And with the Italian league, their focus in the tactical work is mainly on end zones. There's either press or end zone. There's not much other kind of zone. So in Australia, we don't play much of an end zone. So learning that kind of skill set, you know, pushing in between a bit, you know, how far is too far, when to go, when not to go. So it's sort of developing that knowledge of different styles probably in Italy. The Australian League, obviously with how long I've been in it, I've had 3 different coaches. So each of them have been very different. Sarkis that was the Greek fellow, probably from, I think it was like 2017 to 18. He had a very, very different approach to things. So everything was slow, everything was about space, like being very wide, and a lot of emphasis on breaststroke kicking in when you're shooting and when you're passing, which I was more trained in egg beater, and you know, so in that regard was learning sort of a different skill set, and again the legs. With Pedja, again it's with the legs, and obviously for me that's something that I always continue to work on. With the leg work, it was in the extra man defense. So being able to jump for a ball and then recover quickly. So spinning in the air while the ball goes over your head to another position, landing in a way that gets you then ready for the next thing, and moving out to the ball quickly as well, while also then being able to recover quickly back. So every coach I've had has been different, and they've all helped in a way to get me to the player I am today.
Thank you.
Maybe I jump in one here. What is your favorite part of the game and why?
Okay, favorite part of the game. What do you mean? Sorry, by that. Sorry, like what do you like? What part of the game?
What is your
Most enjoyable
movements or?
Okay, most enjoyable movements. I love driving. I think I'm very good at driving, I believe. You know, just being able to, the movement of it, you know, watching a player, being able to beat that player, though it is reliant on, you know, a person being able to pass that ball to you. And then once the ball's in, the other movements I like, definitely getting inside. If I'm inside water within 5 meters and having the ball, I think I'm very dangerous with the ball inside 5 meters. You know, being quick, off the hand, tricky shots. That's my style of the game I really like. And also in extra man, position 1 and position 6. Love coming around and, you know, shooting a nice top corner or a nice bounce and beating the block. That's fantastic.
Can you name in the world a driver who is as good as you are?
If no one could hear that, Giggy's just asked if can I name a driver that's better than me in the world currently? I don't think there is, to be honest. I think I'm one of the best. There's probably a couple of Russians, I think, like number 3, number 4, and number 6 who are very good, and obviously Americans have some very good drivers, but I think I'm up there with one of the best. So I have to toot my own horn.
Good. And when did you, what age you sort of felt that I really want to take this to the absolute top and I'm going to pursue this 110%? Did you have it very early in you, or it was just coming gradually?
I always had a dream to go to the Olympics. It began with swimming, and that wasn't going to happen anytime soon. Probably when I made my debut with the Aussie Stingers in 2009, I really thought, yeah, I've really got a good shot here. I was unsuccessful with the London Olympics, so I missed out by a spot. But you know, I was committed, and I really wanted to make an Olympic team, and I was so close. And I knew what areas I had to work in. I knew what I was good at, and as I said, the areas that I needed to improve in to make the next team in Rio, which I did. So, and now going for another one. So, yeah.
And did it really prompt you to work harder when you missed out on the team? Was that your expectation, that you really felt that you can be in that team?
Yeah. After missing out on London, it was hard. It was hard to also watch the games. And we also, like, I know for those who were the reserve, we didn't get a lot of time out of for rest. Because obviously the next cycle starts up again in November, December. That's when we used to have institute tournaments, and they were sort of the where dumper back in those days would, that's where you had to stand out. So I think July is when the Olympics was on, and then I was back into the pool, early September, and I was working hard, swimming wise, working on my swimming, working hard on that so I could make all the testing, and then going down, doing as repetitive ball skills, working on the legs, was working at 110% to, make an impression, and then, maintain that level of that standard.
If someone would like to stay on or get to the level where you are, average weekly, how many sessions would you recommend to those athletes to do?
It's dependent on the player. I don't think there's a blanket approach to this. So I don't know if many of you know, but Glencora McGee, Ralph, or now McGee, she was a natural swimmer. So for her, she didn't have to do as many swim sessions as me. So she probably only needed to do 2, whereas I needed to do about 3 or 4 to make a swim test and to maintain that fitness. But for me, I was very strong in the gym, whereas Glencora wasn't as strong, so she needed to do more in the gym compared to me. So it is very dependent on the person, but on average, I think you're looking at, sessional wise, twice a day. So like, probably up to 12, 13 sessions, and it depends what you need, what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. So if you've got a good swimming background, but you're not good in the gym, or you need to work on leg strength or, shooting, then you work on that, and, you can don't need to do as much swimming. But, it's very dependent on an individual. I don't think there's a blanket approach to that, to be honest.
Understand. And how many training sessions did you have when you were a junior player? Let's say around 15, 16.
I think I was just starting in the gym. So probably we did 3, but it was more, again, the fundamental learning, correct technique, especially with the gym coach we had. It was very, no putting on weights until we had perfected, a perfect squat, perfect bench press, a perfect chin up, and like not chin ups to here, chin ups to your chest. So, yeah.
And anyone else have a question before I keep going?
Yeah, Zoe, what were the main differences between the European coaches and the Australian coaches when they were training?
The European coaches seem to focus a lot on swimming, like swimming and then doing skill work after the swimming. It's compared to what dumper would do at the national levels. So and dumper was more focused on the tactical components of things and the sort of the breakdown of drill works and that. So we do a lot more, practicing a 3-back and how you beat a 3-back, or an M zone, how you break the M zone. Whereas with these European coaches, it's more focus on leg work, really, how to move out to a player, how to, cover that space, knocking down a player, and what was the other thing they usually work on? And probably more of a different style with the Europeans is also the different style of shooting, I suppose. Whereas Dumper was probably a bit more about, shoot hard, shoot fast. These coaches tend to focus more on trying to be deceptive, try to beat the goalie, watch what the goalie's doing, and sort of, place the ball more.
Do you find the Euros are more specific, position specific? So like the Aussies, you play at 1 or 6, but you watch some of the Euros and they tend to play everywhere. Is that a bit of a thing that the Euros do?
Yeah, I mean, the only, specialist positions are the centre-back and centre-forwards. Everyone else, they play anywhere. They feel anywhere you go to, any position, you've got to know where to, apart from also the left-handers, which, one on the left-hand side. But, everywhere else, you obviously have, in the European teams, you actually have a couple of big personalities who want to go to a certain position. But majority of the time, they play anywhere unless you're that, centre forward or centre back.
Zoe, how much longer will you be playing for?
Well, definitely until next year, August. After that, I'm not sure. It's dependent on a lot of things. I'd love to keep playing after that, but just got to see, how everything works out outside of polo, and also how my body holds up. Not getting any younger, but I think I'm at the best age currently for water polo. But definitely like to go for another cycle, but dependent, as I said, on other things.
Do you think you've sacrificed a lot?
I made some tough choices, but I have put uni on hold. I have put a lot of other things on hold, but I wouldn't say they're much sacrifices. They're just choices that I've made, and I don't regret any of them. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Oh, thanks. Great.
Hey Zoe, can I ask a quick question? It's Steph. I just wanted to find out can you just maybe enlighten us in terms of the other services? You mentioned athlete and wellbeing, but what about psychology, nutrition? How much do they play a part, or how often do you have access, and what's the exposure to those little 1%ers of the game?
Full access to those. So we do, as I said, have access to psychologists, nutritionists, and we use them on a weekly basis. I'm pretty sure with the Australian team, it's in our actual contract that we have to have a psychologist. We have to be working with one. But WAIS have been, with WAIS, they provide it, they're available whenever, and they do take the 1% off, off the table. I've worked, I've been here how many years? I think 15 or whatever, and I'm always using their services here, and as I said, they definitely contributed to my performance and also to my personal development. And
is that so individual, or do they do team stuff with the team as well?
It's quite hard it's just a little bit difficult with the team stuff because for myself, because in the waste environment, because as I said, I've been away overseas, so I'm not so much working in a team with the waste team. Though the girls that are here in the daily training environment, they do sort of work in teams with the psychologist, nutritionist, and the personal excellence advisor. and we're together when we're doing gym. So that only the last couple of weeks have I probably started doing a bit more with this group that's here, because I'm based here.
Yeah, cool. No, it's just an interesting, where a lot of talk internationally about the mental game, and it's just interesting to see there wasn't a lot of that when I came through. So I'm just interested to see how that has developed over the last.
There's there's a huge focus on it at the moment, and especially given COVID, it's sort of gone through the roof as well. So, but yeah, there's definitely a huge shift to more the mental aspect of the game now as well. Definitely around, I suppose, for us was the penalties. That's penalty shootout. So, yeah.
Beautiful.
Did you have similar services while you were playing in Spain or?
No.
What were the services
It's quite interesting in the European countries. It was sort of like the gym coach was also the dietitian, plus the physiologist, plus also somehow the physio. So it was. They definitely here at WAIS, the service providers here are fantastic, and what they do is it's not just for me but for all sports. Help us achieve us getting to Olympics and performing to the best of our ability. But yeah, it was very interesting going to Europe, and especially in China. They because for water polo we rely heavily on we need physios to keep us in good health. In China they don't have physios; they have doctors and who act as physios, which is very strange for someone like myself. Where in Australia you have separate, doctor, physio, and then it was Spain. I know in Spain it was different again. How we had a masseur who would travel with us, but was also on the bench with us, handing us out gel packs and water bottles. Like he was the water boy as well. It's interesting. Every sort of country has a different club has a different way of doing things with what they've got available to them.
Michael, you wanted to ask some questions there?
Yeah. So you are a driver, and you're going to stick to driving all your life in the future as a coach probably as well. But you've been working with so many different coaches and different cultures. So what you actually adopted, what do you think as a player and one day as a coach is going to be your, what you're going to focus? Is it going to be shooting strong or shooting? So what actually worked best for you? What's your opinion of or it's going to be a lot of work? Everyone's going to do leg work 10 times a week. And so I'm just curious to see what's your point of view about all those different experiences, all those different coaches, what that makes you like now. What did you adopt?
Knowing what I know now, like I said, that junior work of the basic skills, definitely I would, if I was a coach, I would be focusing heavily on that and that basic understanding of the game. But I'd also put a lot of emphasis on leg work, like being able to go away and see how different people do different drill works for different sort of, when they use their legs for different scenarios, situations. That's been so helpful for me, and I'd love to be able to, if I coach, be able to pass that down to the next playing group, because I think there is so much to learn from, especially Europeans, in regards to leg work. And but definitely in Australia, I think, the background I had with the skill set growing up, that's just kind of like, that's what I would install in every player and every coach. It was, and that's why I'm the player I am today, because of that basic skill set.
Leg work. I have another one. What was the hardest, the most challenging in your career? Playing and being forced to train and play with an injury, or playing far away from home, or just working in Australia with daily activities and trying to juggle, you know, the family and training and playing. So what's actually, you know, what was the, you know, the hardest bit in your career?
The hardest bit? Definitely missing out on the Olympics and then having to travel with the Olympic team as a reserve. That was hard. Because it wasn't like they took it easy on you. It was, you were still training as if you were still, in case someone got injured, you were still there. You know, people were still yelling at you. You had the coach still yelling at you. You were still doing all the swim sets and everything. You're going, what? That was hard. But you know, you also knew at the end of the day, I was like, this is good. You know, this is good for my, you know, my next experience going forward. But yeah, that was definitely hard.
That's an awesome answer. Thanks. The hardest bit, yeah. Honestly, I think for athletes, that must be the, you know, big part of the team, and at the end, not traveling.
Yeah, and you know, it was hard, but at the end of the day, it also, you in the back of my mind, like I knew straight when I missed out that I was going for Rio, so I was like, this is just good for that, you know, continuing on with that. And it was very hard leaving the team, going back home while they were going off to London, but you know, that's what it is. That's how. Well, that's the.
Thank you. Thanks.
It's probably too early to ask, but have you thought of becoming a coach after a while?
You know, I'd love to give back to the sport. It's given so much to me, and I've, you know, had a fantastic run with it. I'd probably, obviously, start. You know, I have so much to learn. Coaching is not an easy gig, so. I definitely what that looks like. It's not an easy gig, and I respect anyone who sort of enters it.
Well, you certainly have a lot more focus on playing now. What's coming next? How is it going to look before the Olympics? Can you fill us in on that a little bit?
Sorry, what was the question, Tibor? I couldn't hear you.
Your program from now until the Olympics, can you give us a bit of a snapshot on that? How's it going to look? What are the plans?
It's similar to what we did this year. So, a residential camp from September to December in various locations. So Canberra, Kawana up in Queensland. And then from there, it just depended on, you know, travel restrictions. Unfortunately, we're in such an unknown. You know what? A vaccine is found, but we have a sort of plan in place. Don't you know where we're going? Place, but it can be changed given the current environment.
Coaches, do we have any more questions to Zoe?
Yeah, hi Zoe, it's Pete Tresice again. I just have a question.
Hey.
The girls have gone to bed now, so there'll be no interruptions. Why do you think historically the women's water polo program, Australian women's water polo program, has been more successful than the men's program? In terms of international results, I guess.
Generations before us, to be honest. So we've always, and I don't know what it is. But yeah, having, like, for me, I had people when I came yeah, very exceptional.
I think we have had some problems with the system. We couldn't hear you properly for a while. I don't know if everybody experienced the same. Now we have two Zoes.
All right. All right. Sorry about that. The computer was dying.
Yeah, I think now we can hear you better.
Okay. Did you want me to repeat my answer, Peter Tressard?
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't hear you, Zoe.
Yeah, that's okay. To be honest, I don't know. I mean, I know for me, like having that group such as like Steph Neesham, Claire Finnecane, Belinda Brooks, Kelly Finnecane, Emma Knox, being able to train and play with them as a junior coming through was really, was beneficial. And I think it's always been that the generation above them have been, exceptional skills and good at play and being very competitive. So I think that for me, that's what having that, generation above me who were very good set the tone. So it's sort of like this legacy or this, passing it down. And the women have all, the women's program, we held ourselves to a high standards, for a long time now. So, we're also very competitive as well. So.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Pete, it's Arrow. I reckon a lot of that is to the women's water polo around the world has really only started coming on in the last, 20 years or so, but men's water polo has been very strong for a long time worldwide. And I think that's had a bit of an impact too. But I reckon the men's team now are really quite competitive. I think you'll be surprised how well they'll go coming up.
Yeah, so I hope you're right, Arrow.
I think we all do.
Oh, thanks, Zoe. Thanks for your answer.
TB, I had a question, if I may. Who is a player who you're looking at for learning from in the current women's water polo world?
Playing wise, I would say probably like maybe some of the Russians. I don't know their names. I know number 3 is very good. Probably number 4 and 6 who that sort of rely play of counter-attacking, driving, and the vision they have were delivering passes and their shot options. So that's probably more focused on the Russian players because I play a similar style to them. The other person would probably be even though she's a left-hander, Stephanie Harabalides for the American team. She has a fantastic shot, and I was training with her in China, and to learn from her was great. So definitely someone who I look to as well, and she's and obviously takes on the player, very good on the counter attack as well. Thanks.
Any more questions, coaches?
Zoe, it's me. When do you think you'll start paying rent at home?